Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Word here bringing you Game 2 of this series between Genius and C from the IPL 5 Losers Round 2. Currently up 1-0, spawning here in the bottom left portion of Cloud Kingdom, playing in the yellow. He is Genius, and his opponent, the Blue Terran, playing for Team Liquid, spawning in the upper right, and currently down 0-1, he is C. Of course, we saw C lose that last game after an innovative mech play that we did see, or at least I personally saw, work in the past, but Genius pretty much knew exactly what to do to deal with it. He mixed in those Archons, he had a really good Colossus count. Of course, the Archons absorbed a lot of that tank fire, and considering C's army was almost entirely tanks, it was pretty much mopped up by the Protoss army. Wasn't really close. The Hellion run-bys from C were great. Everything was great in theory, but the actual engagement just really went in the Protoss favor, and that does tend to win you games, so that is why Genius is currently up 1-0. Now we'll see if C decides to change up his style a little bit. Now of course, we've seen that mech play multiple times, but every good player is multi-dimensional. No pro player is only going to have one build under their belt because, of course, that makes you very easy to counter. So that should not be an issue here. We're just going to see the gateway go down here for Genius and the barracks down for C, so nothing too crazy yet. No proxies, no cheeses. A lot of the times you will see stuff like that in best of 5s, best of 7s, but people don't usually bring it out in best of 3s. Maybe if you are getting a little bit desperate, but in best of 3s there isn't a lot of time to be desperate. You've got 3 games to show your stuff, and you might as well do it where you're confident, and most pro players are very confident in their macro and in their well-timed aggression, not necessarily proxies or cheese. And we see Genius is going to be coming here to scout. C did get that supply depot down again, so Genius won't quite be able to come in here and see exactly what's going on, but we don't have any gases for C quite yet, and if there were any to come down, they would be delayed, so it's looking like a gasless fast expand from him, so he's sticking to the standard macro guns of Terran, and I don't fault him at all for it. You have a newish strategy the first game, and you just go ahead and go for your standard strategy the second game. So there's no gases there. We do see just the one gas here for Genius, and it's looking like, so far, the same thing. I mean, we don't see a second gas quite yet. Once you see that Protoss get that second gas, that's when you can start speculating. But, I mean, for like the first 4 minutes of PvT, there's not a whole lot to talk about unless something crazy does happen. Now, we do see the second gas going down here for Genius, so he could have something up his sleeve. Could be very cool. Excuse me, I just crinkled my water bottle there. Like I was saying, just Protoss has so many options for this sort of thing. It's really hard to speculate. I mean, this wasn't the quickest second gas in the world, so I wouldn't assume that it was a Dark Templar rush or anything like that. No Inca-style stuff, at least not until Heart of the Swarm, but we'll have to see what he decides to do with it. Dropping Chrono Boost on that Warp Gate and that Gateway, so nothing too crazy. C does a really good scout job, I want to point out, of keeping his scout alive, and ooh, you know what? Genius isn't saturating this gas at all. This could be a meta gas. This could be a completely meta gas. He might have just put the gas up so the SCV would scout it, and then not done anything with it. That's what I mean by meta gas, which is fooling your opponent. And I mean, C's scout is alive. He's hiding in interesting places here, but the Stalker is walking around the map, and if C doesn't scout this, which it looks like he's not going to, the Stalker is going to pick it off. The Nexus going down. That is just really brilliant play there by Genius. Who would have thunk it? We see he hasn't seen the Nexus or the gas. He doesn't know it wasn't mining, so he might be a little bit paranoid here. He's like, okay, you have a second gas. Well, what should I be expecting here? Am I going to see some kind of one-base Immortal bust? Are you proxying a pylon? And we see he's being active with his units now. He was poking a little bit out there with the Marines. He wants to make sure that nothing crazy is going on. He is just being, not necessarily paranoid, he's just being cautious, and he absolutely has the reason to, because Genius denied that scout. And I've been talking about that for like a full minute, so I'm going to stop it. That is very cool. Now, C, meanwhile, is just moving into the normal stuff. Looks like he's going to be going for that standard bio play, very effective against Protoss. No reason not to do it. And we're just seeing the same thing here from C, getting those 3 gates, getting that robot. Now he's saturating that gas up a little bit, and he's just going into his standard expand timing. But look at how far these Marines are pushed out. C is looking all over for proxied probes or pylons. He actually has a unit going down the south there, an SCV, I believe. Yes, an SCV. And he's just looking around. But there's nothing to find. However, you know, a little bit of mining time, a little bit of APM wasted. These things really do matter at the highest level, of course, as we all know. Now, Genius, meanwhile, just going to warp in a couple of Stalkers. Start working on defending his base. And there's really no saying what's going to happen from here, but oh, C is going to be coming out here with a little bit of pressure. And this is really good timing by C, of course. It's before that 10-minute medevac timing that so many Protosses are used to, and And it looks like Genius is falling victim to that. He is really skimped on the units. He has 1 Stalker and 2 Sentries here. He has an Observer coming out now, and he's producing a second Observer. He's not going directly into an Immortal, so this could actually do some serious damage. I mean, there's no stim, there's no combat shield or anything, but that doesn't make these units much less dangerous. Now, only 2 Sentries and a Stalker here. The units are going to be coming in here for C. What is he going to be able to kill? Probably some probes. Going to focus down this pylon at the very least. And Genius is going to be warping in a few Zealots here. He's going to engage, but oh my god, the warping is actually canceled. A very good pickoff there by C. And he's going to start working on these sentries. Oh, sentry goes down. Is he going to get the second? Yes, and he's getting probes here as well. This attack is doing very well. Now, if he pulls back with these units, or maybe he doesn't even need to. I mean, he's killing a lot of probes. 10 workers killed right now for C. And this is just terrific damage. So even if he loses these, wow, he gets that Stalker too. And he's going to lose all these units, but that is a beautiful trade. Of course, 10 workers killed is good for obvious reasons, but getting these sentries in the early game is huge. Number 1, these sentries are not here to gather energy. Number 2, you have to remake them. Protoss want at least 3 to 4 sentries in their army at all times against Terran for those Guardian Shields and for a couple of well-placed force fields. And if you're forced to spend those extra 200-300 gas on making those sentries, your tech is going to be a little bit behind. We see that he is warping in 2 more sentries now, so that's gas he did not want to spend. Unfortunately, he had to. So very good timing there by C. That's why these pre-medevac timings are so good. You can usually escape because the Protoss won't have that many force fields yet. And a lot of the times you can do very good damage. Now C, meanwhile, he is... Oh, looks like I did not quite get myself set to busy there. I'm just going to set myself to busy real quick. I always forget to do that, so apologies about that. But C's medevacs are here on the way. He's got +1 and combat shield, so of course he's going to be going for the standard timing, and it's going to be all the more powerful because there's only 2 sentries here that don't have a lot of energy. Normally there would probably be 4. Now we do have a Colossus just getting started here for Genius. Now the medevacs are for him. He's on to 5 barracks now, so looking very standard. He will be taking a 3rd behind this relatively soon, but he's just breaking down these rocks and getting ready to go in and do some damage. Now, with this Colossus out, Genius should be able to hold this, but if C decides to, do that sneaky stuff with the drops in the main, there just might not be enough units for Genius to spread around to try and catch everything. His net is pretty small, and he's going to have to deal with this bulk of a force altogether. So he's going to have to guess his opponent's intentions very well here, because if he splits up to catch a drop that isn't there, his front door is going to be demolished. We have Thermal Lance on the way, but it's nowhere near being done. The Colossus is going to pop out, though. A few more Stalkers being warped in. Also the double Forge coming out. So this timing is just so good for so many reasons. Denies the 3rd. Makes sure the Protoss can't tech switch because he's forced to spend this money on these units. And now it looks like he's waffling a little bit. He's going to allow the Terran to get into his natural, but this is where force fields can be the most effective. Going to pop out a double Guardian Shield, though. Not going to leave a lot of energy for force fields. And Genius just does not have a lot here. The Colossus is getting focused down. He is going to pull it back and save it. The Colossus is the most important unit here, period. But if he loses it, this attack might be a little bit too strong. Unbelievable. Gets saved again, but it's pulled back into range. And now C has just so many units here. They're sitting under these medevacs. Without the Colossi, it's going to be so hard to get rid of them. Could he actually just win it here? Genius has almost nothing left. We have another Colossus coming out, but oh, that is it. GG. Genius falling to the pressure of C. Beautiful timings wrapped up in a quick end, which means we are going to Game 3. This is tied 1-1. Let's get to that next game right now, guys.